afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Keith Silva. Today we're going to introduce you to Kernza. It's what some scientists and researchers call the wonder grain. Kernza is a type of wheatgrass from the steppes of Eastern Europe. Since the 1980s, agronomists at the Land Institute in Kansas have been developing this grain to enhance its environmental benefits. And now the research has reached a point where the scientists want to learn if what grows in the Midwest will sprout up in other places like Vermont. A couple of weeks ago, I met up with a University of Vermont professor and researcher who's leading this effort. There's an experiment going on at UVM's Horticultural Research Center with a grass that cuts against the grain of traditional food crops.
We are looking at Kernza.
Let's go get something we haven't weighed and weigh that.
Eric Bishop von Wetberg is a professor and researcher with UVM Plant and Soil Science.
This is a very deep-rooted grass. It's originally from the plains of Kazakhstan, Ukraine. It's been in the US since the 1950s as a road stabilization grass. My colleagues at the Land Institute and the Rodale Institute have been breeding it for the last several decades to get bigger seeds.
When Bishop von Wetberg says Kernza is deep-rooted, he's not kidding. The roots of a Kernza plant average about 10 feet. Such length stabilizes soil, better sequesters carbon, and increases organic matter in soil. Beyond its roots, Kernza is a perennial grain, a potential game changer in terms of agronomy.
It is like wheat, but instead of planting it every year and having to till up the soil or disturb it with pesticides every year to get it planted, you can plant it once and get a harvest over several years.
Wheat and other cereal grains make up the majority of the world's agriculture. There's more acreage devoted to growing wheat than any other food crop on Earth. Tilling and planting annual crops like wheat puts a strain on soil.
Tillage is essential and soils will bounce back from it, but in many places that we have plowed regularly, we've seen massive losses of soil, and some of the estimates of global soil loss are catastrophic. Kernza helps build that soil. It holds it in place, all the while feeding us, or at least potentially feeding us. It does have a 30% lower yield than wheat, and that's one of the issues that we're focusing on in our NSF-funded research project here.
Kernza lacks gluten that's found in traditional wheat, so don't expect to find bread baked with 100% Kernza flour. But it can be made into pasta and distilled into alcohol. With its hills and valleys, Vermont is not an ideal place to grow grain. Research, on the other hand, doesn't have such barriers.
There are several reasons to try to grow grains in Vermont, even if we may not have the yields that other places do. We have a global food system, but we've seen many of the shocks: the pandemic, the war and human catastrophe in Ukraine, the ongoing intensification of climate change. With all of those, having local food is absolutely critical. We want local grains for food security. We also want them because there is a history of grains having unique tastes in different places. And we want the terroir. Furthermore, as somebody whose primary responsibility is a basic researcher, we want to understand what is the limit of where we can grow this grain. And one of the things we're testing, because this is part of a 7-site trial, it's part of the New Roots for Restoration Biology Integration Institute with colleagues at the Land Institute, the Danforth Center, University of Kansas. We're looking at those ecological ranges. How can we take things from the prairies and have them do well here?
Assisting Bishop von Wetberg are UVM students and interns who are learning the hands-on basics of research.
We have 2 ACTS fellows from the Agroecology and Extension program, as well as a number of interns from UVM working in this plot. They are admittedly out here with scissors doing the harvest. That's hard work, but it gives us some control on measuring it. One of the challenges of Kernza is that as the seed head matures, the seeds will fall off. So it still needs some love and care to get an adequate harvest.
cutting Kernza stalks one at a time is tedious. A lesson Bishop von Wetberg and his fellow UVM faculty want their students to learn firsthand.
One of the hopes of a research-intensive university like UVM is that students learn hand in hand with faculty who are asking questions where we don't know the answer yet. Some of our experiments fail because we don't know. We run into a challenge that we didn't see ahead of time. Giving students hands-on experience is a key part of what we do. The ACTS fellows and the interns both work here on somewhat more basic questions that may be a few years away, but they also tour farms, they talk with farmers, with consumers as part of their internship, so that as they do what they're supposed to do and graduate from UVM and move on to what's next.
It will likely be years, if ever, before Kernza could be grown commercially in the Green Mountains. That's not the point of this project. Bishop von Wetberg's goals are much loftier and more varied.
Part of our job at a university is to do research that helps now and in the future. A core part of where ecological theory plays out in agriculture is that we know from studying natural grasslands that having more species in those systems raises their overall productivity. You get more biomass if you don't just have a grass, but you have a grass and a legume like clover or alfalfa. Our agricultural systems are not that different. We have a few crops that are very productive, and we have some benefits to rotating them over time. But if we can find ways to diversify them, we can make them more resilient to climate shocks, but also more productive overall. Yeah, that's exactly it. We need some diversity in our food system.
Due to its classification as a perennial crop and a food for people and animals, not to mention its several soil-building qualities, Kernza has been referred to as a wonder grain. Thanks to the work of Bishop von Wetberg and his students, Vermont is doing its part to get this grassroots effort off the ground. If you've been to the Champlain Valley Fair and stopped by the Maple Sugar House, then you've helped contribute to the ongoing research that benefits Vermont sugar makers and the U.S. maple industry. I talked with the Sugar House manager a couple of years ago to understand how it all sugars off. Think of it as donuts to dollars. If you're craving a creamy or cotton candy, or maybe you're down for a donut, then the Maple Sugar House at the Champlain Valley Fair has what you need.
You know, your maple staples.
Mike Gilmet has been working at the Sugar House as a volunteer for
So then we got
decades.
involved. We volunteered just like everybody else. And I was a young guy, so I said sure, and I never left, right?
In addition to serving the sweetest treats at the fair, the mission of the Sugar House is promotion and education of Vermont's signature crop.
All of our proceeds go to research. All the research is benefited by every maple producer right in the state or even in the United States.
A majority of the research is conducted at the UVM Proctor Maple Research Center in Underhill. This 200-acre facility is a laboratory where the latest techniques for sap collection and boiling are developed alongside implementing the best management practices to promote healthy and sustainable forests. Brendan Haynes works with researchers at the Proctor Maple Research Center, like Abby Vandenberg, to test and refine the latest practices that improve syrup production. But when the season is over and Brendan has pulled his last tap, he volunteers at the Sugar House and talks with visitors about what it takes to make pure Vermont maple syrup.
Oh God, I love it. Today I'm here at the Sugar House, primarily handing out samples of syrup that we have to interested people that come over and want to have a chance to try out maple, whether they're familiar with the different grades or if they just want an opportunity to try some infused syrup. I think it's important that UVM is here. We're here to share what we know about increasing sap yields through different techniques that have been changing through the years. It's been a lot has changed.
Like Haynes, Gilmet knows chatting up visitors to the Sugar House during Fair Week might make a difference the next time they're at the grocery store.
To kind of get an idea of what's good, better, best, and then they go home and they remember this. So when they're looking for syrup at the market, they know, they have a better idea what they're trying to get or what they want to get.
Funding the future of maple research, one bag of cotton candy and one creamy at a time. What would you say to staying at the fair a little bit longer? Before we can do that, I want to thank everyone here at WCX for making today's program possible, and as always, thank you for stopping by Across the Fence. Okay, buckle up, because we are about to witness the speed of light. So long, everyone.